Hey there YouTube, Doc's Motorcycle Service. Welcome back to the garage. Sunday morning, early, taking advantage of the cool weather here in May. Tried to get another little video knocked out for you. This is going to be more of a review video than anything else. I get asked a lot, and I have had some heated debates about the lift that I use in the garage. The one that I use is a Pittsburgh Pro 1,000 pound capacity lift from Harbor Freight. Now normally these things sell at Harbor Freight for $600, $700, $750, but every now and again you can catch a coupon and you can get it for like $350, $400, $500. I'm not going to tell you what lift to buy. Again, I don't tell you how to work on your motorcycle. I show you how I work on my motorcycle. Now, there's a large group of people out there who feel like you can't get anything of quality without spending a lot of money. Sometimes I find that those people like to have fancy stuff just to show off to other people, and they don't really use them themselves. But the Harbor Freight that I've got right here, this lift I use. Before we get too far, make sure you check out the Facebook page. Again, awesome place to come to. We're getting a little reaction there, not a lot, but that's okay. It's building, we're getting some interest. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you can see the next video. And like the page so it becomes popular and gets at the top of the list on YouTube. Alright, so back to the lift. A lot of people think stuff from Harbor Freight is cheap. They got a lot of cheap stuff there. But at the same time, they got a lot of good stuff. Maybe 4.5, 5 years ago, when I started realizing that I wanted to work on my own stuff to save money, I realized I needed a lift. Now, some people might say that I'm OCD, but I like to think I'm thorough. When it comes to investing my money in something, I want to make sure that I know exactly what I'm getting, and what I'm getting is going to do what I want it to do. That led me to asking questions. I spoke to a lot of people who owned one of these, and it's a Pittsburgh Pro 1000. I think that's the name of it, but everybody calls it the Harbor Freight lift, so that's what we're going to refer to it here as, is the Harbor Freight lift. When I first went down the road of the Harbor Freight lift, I didn't really find a lot of negativity about it. There were some people who had said that they had a bike on it and it fell off, and then there were other people who said this and other people said that, but the more I delved into those statements and more questions I asked that person, the more it sounded to me like that person they had not done something properly. And it wasn't the lift's fault, it was the operator's fault. Remember, I always talk about having a service manual and an owner's manual on every motorcycle that you work on. Every piece of equipment that you have in your garage that you use often, you should have a service manual there for it. You should have an operator's manual for it. You should read the product's limitations. For example, and I'm going to try to fill in some pictures here as I talk, and then we're going to take a look at when I unboxed this thing, when I first got it, and then we're going to look at how the lift operates. But for example, here's one key thing from this guy that I know who just hates these lifts. He said he bought one, brought it home, put his bike on it. It was a 2013, 2014 Harley Davidson Road Glide. Okay, I think that's right. Big bike, fairing, hard bags, heavy bike. I think the CVO, the 2013 CVO with everything on it, is around 1,000 pounds. That's full tank of gas, all the fluids are wet, tour pack on the back. It's a heavy bike. You've seen the videos with Hot Donna. Hot Donna's about 600 pounds when she's on there, complete and not apart like she is right now. So that's a lot of weight. Well, this old boy takes the lift, gets it set up, throws this big old Harley Davidson on there, hits the foot pedal and jacks it up. Now what you'll see here in a minute when we walk around this thing, there's two locking slots on the carriage of the frame. Think of this thing as a big scissor jack, alright? You know what scissor jack is? It's the John jack that I use in the videos. It has a bottom, it has a top, something turns and the scissors come out, like a lift that you might see, one of these four-wheel lifts that you might see on the side of the road that people working on to go up and pressure wash windows and stuff. Well, this thing has a hydraulic jack on the bottom of it, and it has a foot pedal, and every time you hit the foot pedal, you're creating pressure inside the hydraulic jack, and that's causing the jack to expand, and as it expands, it pushes against the carriage, and the carriage starts to come up. Thus, you have lift, and the bike goes up in the air. Well, once it gets to 2 points in through the carriage, there's a hole. There's 2 sets of holes. And once you get it above that, the owner's manual for this and the instructions say to install the locking bar and then release the pressure on the jack. Okay? The jack has a capacity to lift. This is important. Lift, to take something up, either by pushing it up or pulling it up. It does not have the seals to maintain the weight. Maintain means keeping it there. So, old boy, brand new jack, gets it home, gets it put together, puts this 800-pound bike on it, jacks it up in there about yay high, comes back down the next morning, jack's flat, bike's laying off on the side, and he's mad as hell. And of course it was the lift's fault. No, it was not the lift's fault. Didn't follow instructions. Again, the hydraulic jack has the power to lift it up, but then you have to utilize one of those 2 sets of holes with a locking bar, press the back pedal to ease the pressure off of the seals on the jack, and let the lift ease down onto that locking bar. I have had Hot Donna on a lift, complete bike. I've had her up in the air on a locking bar for 25 days. She never failed. Now, when that locking bar is in place and you go to take the bike down, you first have to repressurize the jack, and the lift comes off of the locking bar enough to let the locking bar freely slide out. And then you lay that down, and then you put your foot on the release pedal, and the air starts to psss, and the jack comes down to the floor and you take it off. So they tell you as a Christian, you're not supposed to hate the sinner, you're supposed to hate the sin. Alright? Don't hate the jack if the jack can't do what it's not designed to do. It's not designed to hold the bike up in the air forever without the locking bar. Okay, so I'm done preaching. Now we're going to do a walk around. Well, actually what's going to happen first is I'm going to show you the pictures of the day I brought it home. The garage is going to look a lot different because this was about 5 years ago before it got all cluttered up and painted, and I'm just going to do a narrative over this thing and show you that, show you those pictures. And then we're going to do a walk around, and I'm going to show you how the jack actually works, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on how it could have been done better. I'll give you a review on it, pros and cons about it. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this picture. So yeah, the first thing that I want to tell you about this is this thing is heavy, very heavy. I didn't think about it when I went to pick it up, but the Harbor Freight people were nice enough to help me get it loaded. But since I didn't realize what I was getting into,
After I got it home, I had to call my boys and make plans to come over and get it. So when you go to get yours, plan on taking somebody with you, and then plan on having a couple more people meet you at your house. It's a lot easier to bring it out and set it down than it is to bring it out and drop it. So looking at this thing, you have a heavier end and you have a lighter end. Make sure you put your strong guys on the heavy end, bring it out, set it down. You take the top of the crate off, find your instructions, and if I'm not badly mistaken, there was instructions in there telling you how to unpack it and how to do it. Once you get the parts off the top of the lift, then you simply just pick it up and slide it out of the crate after taking one of the sides off, as you can see right here in the picture. It's packaged pretty nice, wrapped in polyethylene. It's got blocks in there that go near the casters, aka the wheels, to keep it where it should be. So you just slide it off those blocks of wood right onto the floor. The sidebar or the side panel acts as a little ramp. Once you get it set out, go ahead and lay your parts out, and also check to make sure that you've got all your parts with you. You have a foot pedal and a release pedal. They just slide on the rods coming out of the bottom of the carriage. I decided to go ahead and jack mine up to test it and to give me a good level surface. These T-handles here are what you screw down to put the mechanism flat on the floor, your U-bolts, your wheel clamp, and then it has some pre-drilled holes for the U-bolts to go into. My only thing would have been I would have liked to had more pre-drilled holes so I could move those U-bolts around. Here's your wheel stop. Make sure that you put a washer on the bolt head side and the nut side. You get your wheel clamp in. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. It tells you what wrenches you need and how you want to go about putting it together. Again, make sure you put a washer on the bottom so when you're tightening it up, you're not damaging the finish. Yeah, I like to keep my junk clean. More pics of the U-bolt, washers here that came with it. I mean, everything came with it that you need. As we get into the walk around, you'll see where I changed some stuff up. That was just personal preference because I thought it would work better for me adding some eye bolts. Yeah, I was kind of scared when I got this thing. I set a concrete block up just to be able to put the kickstand down. And looking at the first bike that I put on there, I had the ratchet straps on, but I just wanted to be, I mean, you'll find yourself real timid. Now, real quick, one of the things I want you to notice about this, look at this picture. Think back to the previous picture and where it was. Once you get a bike on this thing and you get it tightened down with the wheel vise and some ratchet straps, you can move this thing all over. I mean, you can quite literally just slide it around. The rear wheels at the rear of the bike stay straight while the ones in the middle they turn, so you can guide it almost anywhere you want to. And as you can see in this picture right here, once I got it on it and started playing with it, didn't want to take the bike off of it, but didn't want to leave it in the way of Linda's car. So I basically just rolled it over to my side of the garage.
Now we're just going to do a walk around of Donna, and I'm going to point out some stuff to you. As you can see right here, this is your wheel vise, and the vise itself is mounted to the deck here. And when you turn this side of the vise, you can call it a wheel clamp, you can call it whatever you want to call it. It just tightens up on the wheels. You got a wheel stop right here, and typically what would happen is you would roll the front wheel of the bike up here over this. There's a little lip right there, through here to this stopping point, and tighten the vise down. Now, I believe Donna has 18-inch wheels on her, so this works perfect for her. When the front of the wheel comes to stop against the wheel stop up here, this part of the vise right here is past the center line, so that helps hold it as well. But you got some adjustment holes here and here to where you can move the whole vise back. Let's say if you had a 21-inch wheel on there. Now, going around, Donna, you're going to notice these U-bolts right here. and here. And there's a matching set over here on this side. And what this is for is for you to be able to use straps to ratchet straps as safety straps to maintain the bike safe and sturdy while it's up in the air. Now, what I did do, and I wanted to show you this part, if I can see it here. Yes, I added these eye hooks right here, and it's not hard to put them in there. You just go to the hardware store and you get a couple of eye bolts and some nuts, and you'll want to put a nut and a washer on this side and a nut and a washer on the other side. And what that's going to do is it's just going to give you an additional point of contact, because again, this is a generic lift, and when you're working on a project in various stages of restoration or tear down, these 2 points right here, this one, this U-bolt, and this U-bolt, may not always be the best points of contact for what you're working on. So you can pick you up some eye bolts at the hardware store, get you some nuts, and you can also go down the side of the rail here and put you some additional holes in here. You're going to need a pretty good bit because it's pretty good steel. This is the locking bar, and we'll talk about that in a minute. This is your foot pedal that makes it go up. This is your release pedal that makes it go down. So let's go ahead, and you may think, well, why have I got carpet on here? Well, I guess I'm just strange, but I like the carpet because, one, I can pick it up at Walmart for about $5, and it's almost the perfect length. And I don't like the sound of metal hitting metal. It just hurts my ears, especially when it's something that's worth a lot of money to me, and I drop stuff all the time. So it's a sound barrier. It absorbs some oil, and I can replace it after every project, and I don't have a lot of money into it. Keep in mind, you can also put eye bolts up here. Matter of fact, I think I have one in there, but upside down right at the moment. So let's get this thing on the stand, get it up in the air, and then we'll take a look at the bottom end of it. So when she's down, the first couple of pumps, you're not going to see the deck move any, because the jack is having to start to separate from the pressure created by pumping on it, and then it'll make contact with the lift, and then it'll start to go up in the air. Now you'll notice these two holes here. There's a matching set on the other side. What you do is when you get this thing to the right height, where you want it at, and you'll see these two marks right here. That shows you where I've used this before, and this has come down to rest on it. You slide this thing through here. If you ain't quite got it high enough, give it a couple more pumps. Get it high enough. Slide this through, past these two little tits, and then turn one of them down. That keeps it from sliding out while it's up in the air. Then you hit the release pedal. Now, once it comes to a stop, push all the way down on the foot pedal and release the pressure. That right there is what takes the pressure off the seals in the jack. Now looking at the front of this thing, you're going to see the casters or the wheels on each side. They're steel, maybe steel, I don't know, but they work good. I thought about replacing them, but I realized that if I did, It would increase the height of the jack or the lift, and also by increasing the size of the lift, it would put a sharper angle to the ramp on the back, and that could sometimes be a problem. But what you want to do prior to lifting it in the air is to turn these T-handles down until the base makes contact with the concrete, and then give it maybe a half or 3/4 turn more just to relieve the pressure on the wheels. See, it's up in the air enough that I can move the wheel, because you're going to have 4 points of contact and you want them to be solid. There's 2 more of these on the back. So you always want to make sure that these are in contact. You're on a good level surface. This is a look at the jack. You can see the forward pedal on your right and the release pedal on your left. You can see the mechanism, how it works the jack. You can see the cylinder coming out of the jack and how it makes contact to put the carriage up in the air. Bigger wheels on the back. Here's that eye bolt with the nuts I was telling you about. And again, if you just want to come down these edges here and put some extra holes in here, it's not really going to hurt anything. I mean, I did, but you know, be careful where you put them at. Make sure that any additional eye bolt that you add to this thing is not going to interfere with the operation of the lift itself. And there you go. I mean, that's just it right there. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. This is it on its highest setting. You can see how high up in the air it is. I would be real careful about a couple of things, because Donna has these 16-inch apes on her. And if you look at my garage door, if I remember correctly, I cannot put her fully extended right here directly under the garage because the top of the handlebars hit the garage. So know where your lift's going to be set up at, and know what it's going to, when it goes up, what it may or may not come in contact with. The only other thing I did, because I'm an old man, is I went and got some of these rubber mats. They snap together, and it's just a nice little work surface to help my knees as I'm older and spend so much time out here on this concrete. It's got a nice little area I can just walk around here. Now, to get the bike back down, put some pressure on the jack. That's what you're doing, is you're putting the lift up to release the tension on the locking bar. And after a few strokes, you'll see the locking bar move. When it does, turn it, pull it out. I normally keep mine right here where it's handy. Go down to the release pedal and apply light pressure. And she'll start to come down. Don't slam it on the ground. So there's a safety tip and a tech tip. Don't slam it on the ground. Give it a little bit, and it's going to come down at different rates depending on how much you press on the pedal back here and how much weight's on it. You may be able to hear the air releasing. And there she is. Okay, so tips and tricks, pros and cons. I talked about the carpet. That's nice just for catching grease and laying your stuff down on and not hearing stuff clatter. And if you're working on something expensive and you drop it and it lands on the carpet, there's a less chance that it'll get marred or scratched. You drop a screw or a bolt or a washer or something, normally if it lands on that piece of carpet, it's not going to bounce anywhere else. The wheel clamp up front, there are other wheel clamps up front that you can buy. I'll try to put a picture up right here of one that's real popular with a lot of people. The reason I don't like them, and you'll see they're about this big, and they're about this wide. People like them because when you go to put a bike on this ramp, one thing that those T-bar screws that I showed you by the wheels that lock it down, well, don't lock it down, but makes it level and on a surface and takes the pressure off the wheels. Be careful putting your bike up on that, because sometimes those things will slide. I've had a heavier, bigger bike on this, and I don't ride it on there, okay? I push it on there because I've seen them slide sometimes. So what some people will do is they will, after they get it situated where they want it at, they'll take an old leather glove or something and put under those the screw down casters or the screw down sets to keep it from moving on a slick floor. I've seen people take and cut a 2x4 or a 2x6 to the desired length to the wall in front of the lift to hold it while they get the bike up on it. You just got to figure that stuff out for yourself. And this is my disclaimer. Again, this isn't how I'm telling you to do it. I'm telling you how I do it and what I have found works for me. All right, because these lifts, I ain't gonna lie to you, they're inherently dangerous. I mean, you've got a 1,000-pound bike 35 inches up in the air, okay? A lot of things can go wrong with that. Before you put that bike up in the air, make sure that your ratchet straps are secure. Make sure that you're hooking that bike to something. If you have 2 points of contact right here and you put a ratchet strap over it without it securing to something, if you don't have that bike secured, that bike can slide under that ratchet strap, okay? So you'll notice in the video we had the front wheel out of the wheel clamp. We did that because we're getting ready to go into another video, and we're going to check the we're going to do what's called a follow-away test. And what that does is it tells you if your neck bearing nut is too tight or too loose. And for that to happen, the wheel has to be completely off the ground and be able to turn all the way left and all the way right. Well, the wheel can't turn inside the clamp, so we had to move it backwards out of the clamp. But if you'll also notice that I had a 4x4 back there with the frame sitting on it. So now the frame has got a good level point, and I've got a ratchet strap over it holding it down onto that square point. So there's less chance for it to flip left or right because it's marked there. I'm just telling you, get you a set of ratchet straps, get you a good set of ratchet straps, and make them your lift ratchet straps, okay? Because you're going to use them. Again, I push the bike up on it, but prior to doing that, I have my straps set up to where when I push the bike up there, I can hold the bike until I can get it into the wheel vise. And then I'll reach down and I'll tighten that wheel vise up against the wheel. And that will traditionally hold the bike pretty steady long enough for me to go ahead and get my ratchet straps hooked around it and get one secure on the front and one secure on the back. Safety tip, make sure that when you have your bike on here, it's up there. I have not personally put a big bike on this because a 1,000-pound bike is really hard for me to push. Am I confident the lift would hold for a 1,000-pound bike? Yeah, I'm real comfortable with that. But at the same time, I haven't had a situation where I've had to do that. And with a 1,000-pound bike, I'm probably not going to be able to ride it on, push it on there. I'm going to have to ride it on there. So I'm going to want to make sure that I've got enough room on either side of the bottom end of the bike to put my feet down when I get it there, okay? So you do what you want to do. And so big wheel chock, I don't like it. It's good if you push it up there because people will set it just a little bit wider than the front wheel and they'll roll that thing into it and it locks in, and it's got big rubber bumpers on the inside, and it'll grab that tire and it'll hold it right there until you can get it wrenched down tight, and you're good to go. Con, I wish it would come from the factory with more pre-drilled holes for U-bolts and I-bolts for some flexibility about where I put the ratchet straps at. Other than that, I really can't think of any other con to it. No, I really can't. I've never had any complaints about this thing. But again, I follow the instructions. And again, the biggest thing is people saying the seals blew out of the jack. Well, every time that I talk to them, it's because they didn't use that locking bar and they left the pressure on the jack. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up. Get ready for church and get out of this heat. So YouTube, thanks for coming by the garage. Hope you learned something today. Leave some comments on the Facebook page about your thoughts on the jack or here at YouTube, either one. Hit the like button when you're done. Share the video with your friends. Comment, and thanks for coming by the garage. And